request Shri Manish Gorisaria to please hand over a memento to Mr. Nair. Thank you, Chairman. May I request Shri Sandeep Karasia to please join us. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together. May I request Shri Namit Bajodia to please give a memento and felicitate Mr. Sandeep Karasia. I request Shri Suvankar Sen to please join us on the dais. I request Shri Manish Gorisaria to please do the honors and felicitate Shri Suvankar Sen. May I request the distinguished dignitaries on the dais for a group photograph, please. I would like to inform ladies and gentlemen that Shri Gunjan Shah, one of our distinguished panelists, will be joining this program and to address us. He's the Managing Director and CEO of Bata India Limited. So we'll be seeing him on the screen. May I request Shri Namit Bajodia to please come and deliver the welcome address. Thank you.
Sri Biju Korean, Chairman, Retailer. Shah, Managing Director and CEO, Bata India Limited, virtually with us. Sri Venu Nair, Managing Director and CEO, Shoppers Stop. Sri Sandeep Barasia, Whole-Time Executive Director and Chief Business Officer, Delivery. Sri Suvankar Sen, Managing Director and CEO, Senco Gold Limited. Sri Prasant Koya, Founder and CEO, Genius Systems Limited. Sri Manish Gorisaria, Chairman, Council on Retail and Marketing. Sri Mayank Kargawal, Co-Chairman, Council on Retail and Marketing. Distinguished
Thank you, President. May I now request Shri Manish Gorisaria, Chairman, Council on Retail and Marketing, MCCI, to deliver the theme address, please.
Thank you, President. Thank you for the wonderful speech. So, distinguished members, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to all. On behalf of Merchant Chamber of Commerce and Industry, it is my privilege to extend a warm welcome to our eminent panel of speakers and all of you present at this MCCI Retail Conclave 2023. We are privileged to have a galaxy of dignitaries in this session who are so instrumental in shaping up the retail to what it is today. The strength of India's 140 crore people gives us an edge over other nations to be one of the largest markets in the world. The entire world looks at India for mass access, and it is a must for us to leverage our strength. The Indian retail industry has emerged as one of the most dynamic and fast-paced industries. According to a report by India Brand Equity Foundation, retail accounts for over 10% of India's GDP and around 8% of the overall employment. India is the world's fifth largest global destination in retail space. Over the past 2 years, the COVID-19 pandemic has led to changes in consumer preferences and attitude. According to country research, India's retail industry is projected to grow at 9% between 2019 to 2030, from 779 billion US dollars in 2019 to 1,407 billion dollars by 2026, and more than 1.8 trillion US dollars by 2030. It is encouraging that the industry growth is riding on several factors, including a huge consumer base, rising disposable income, exposure of the new generation to international brands, and ease of doing business. Retail development is taking place not just in major cities and metros, but also in small cities and towns. India is booming and attracting international companies over the past few years. In the last few months, plenty of apparel brands, retailers have continuously opened their stores, and this trend will continue. The ever-changing retail world is trying hard to give consumers new experiences that are unique and memorable. To speak of a few, Amazon has introduced augmented reality feature that let shoppers picture furniture in their home. Similarly, L'Oreal, the store highlights a makeup genius bar where women can virtually try on makeup with a makeup genius app. Walmart, the brand has sponsored Jurassic World's augmented reality game. It is different product using the game to hunt and catch dinosaurs. This can increase footfall to the stores. Consumer cannot get these items anywhere except at Walmart. However, there are challenges in the industry like maintaining brand loyalty. Though traditionally consumer loyalty programs will still be effective, the retailer will have to sail through a mixture of tech solutions in the market to find the perfect one for them. Many retail businesses struggle with efficiency and effectiveness. The retailer will have to crack the codes for leveraging digital channels to generate leads and sales. So the channel is to reach out to the consumer properly, and for that reinventing retail is a must. It is evident that technology has played a significant role in shaping the future of the retail industry. Omnichannel experiences, robots, and automation are the future of technology trends in the retail industry, and every retail business should try to adopt technology that would enable it to take the retail venture forward for the future. We do hope that today's deliberation we will be able to successfully chart out the probable future growth of the retail industry. I am sure the views of our eminent experts will be enriching and enlightening. Once again, thank you all. Namaskar.
Thank you, Chairman. I would now request Sri Biju Kodian, Chairman, Retailers Association of India, to take over the session on hybrid retail seamless experience.
Thank you, and a very good afternoon to all you ladies and gentlemen. It certainly is a pleasure to be able to be here in Calcutta once again. It's a city which I have fond memories of, because when we started Titan way back in 1987, at that time I remember coming to Calcutta, being based here for a couple of years. And one of the things I liked about Calcutta was the fact that in no other city in India you could actually get a club membership, whereas in Calcutta you could walk in and get a club membership. So that's some of the things that I remember of Calcutta. It's been a vibrant retail market. A lot of you all who stay here might not believe it to be so, but let me tell you that it's got a market which is catering to the eastern region. When it caters to the eastern region, you also cater to neighboring countries like Bangladesh, Nepal and Bhutan. So you kind of, in a sense, become like a multinational retail market when you're in Calcutta. We had Namit talk to us, and Manish also mentioned about the size of the Indian retail market, and variously estimated at roughly about 1,000 billion or 1 trillion, as you might call it. A market which is split currently into 3 categories, which are about 13 to 15 million. I think Namit talked about the large number of shopkeepers that we have in India, and roughly estimated at about 13 to 15 million shopkeepers in India. These 13 to 15 million shopkeepers currently contribute to about 80% of the Indian retail market. The balance, which is all of modern retail that we know of, so whether it is the Shoppers Stops or the Batas or the Reliance retails or anybody else in the modern retail market, contribute to roughly about 10 to 12%, and then the online retail, which we know a lot more of, contribute about 4 to 5%. So when you think about Indian retail, we must remember that a lot of Indian retail is still dominated by the independent small retailers. So that is one. The second part of it is that retail in India is not the same that we can see in the cities in which we live. So when we look at Calcutta, we look at retail, which is the Pada retail, we have mall retail, we have independent stores, large stores, we have community complexes. So there are this kind of retail. Go down maybe about 100 kilometers outside of Calcutta, and what you will see is you will find villages, and in that village you'll have one shop or 2 shops at the most. What you will get in that shop is largely what you require for daily living. So basically food and grocery and necessities. So when you think of India as a retail market, what we must also remember is that food and grocery is a significant part of our market. 60% of our market is actually food and grocery. But what you're lucky to have today is that if you look at the balance 40% between fashion, jewelry and footwear, we have all of the leaders of those businesses here with us, and then of course you have somebody who enables all of these businesses, including food and grocery, in terms of supply chain, which is Sandeep. So we have here today a panel which has a broad cross section of leaders from the retail industry who contribute significantly to the non-food and grocery, or what you might define as the lifestyle retail businesses. The third point I wanted to make is that when we look at retail, what we must also remember, while we have a very large number of retailers, the average, what you might define as retail space per capita in India is about 1/10 of what it is in the United States, and it's about 1/4 of what it is in a market like China. So what you do know is that there isn't enough space for retail on the average, and when you say that there isn't enough space, what tends to happen is that when you don't have enough space, you can't keep enough products, because obviously you can't display in limited spaces. So you start picking and choosing. And when you start picking and choosing, you pick those which are the popular products. So even if you look at a category like, say, toothpaste, you might not keep all pack sizes, you might not keep all brands. You select what you think are the popular brands, and you select the largest selling pack sizes. So what happens because of that is, in traditional retail, the choices that the consumer has gets limited. But consumer aspirations, as Namit was mentioning, in terms of per capita incomes, we are growing. We're roughly at about $2,000 or $2,500 per capita. But when you look at that $2,500 per capita income, what you must also remember is that there is a $700 and $800 per capita in Bihar and UP, and there is $5,000 to $8,000 per capita income, which is there in Delhi and Chandigarh, and also parts of Mumbai. Even if you look at a city like Calcutta, you can actually understand per capita between, say, markets like Alipur and Baliganj versus some other markets which I don't want to mention by locality, but there are stark differences in terms of income. Similarly, consumers. So when you have this variance in terms of consumers, markets, and states, what tends to happen is that you need to be able to make sure that you have a presence which is across the country, appealing to different kinds of consumers. One of the advantages that e-commerce has enabled is that because of the fact that it is riding on the internet and not limited by physical stores, if somebody wants to get onto a site and see the brands and products which are available, it is possible. They might not be able to find that product in the nearby store, but they can certainly find it on an e-commerce platform. When the limitation was, will they deliver to me? Now, people like Sandeep have actually made it easy, and companies like Delivery have made it easy, saying that, now we will cater to, initially it was 5,000 pin codes, 10,000 pin codes, 20,000 pin codes, 30,000 pin codes. So what it means is that wherever you are, if you don't have a store, but you can get on to an online website, then there is the potential possibility that you can actually buy that product. Earlier, if you had to buy a product, you had to depend on a credit card. Then many people said that, I've got debit cards because of Citibank Suvidha and the number of debit cards that Indians had. So they said that any card-based purchase, credit or debit. Now you have UPI. And with UPI, what has happened is that you have more than 250 million people who today use the UPI. And amongst digital payment mechanisms, UPI is almost 65% of digital payments, especially for commerce. On the other hand, you only have about 35 million, credit card users, and you have potentially another 120 odd million debit card users. But most people who have debit cards are loath to shop online because they fear that there is no recourse mechanism in case their payment were to fail or if the merchant were to run away. So when you think of all this, what you are beginning to see is that the number of people who are transacting online, spurred because of UPI, has suddenly increased. And what used to be earlier about 50-60 million people buying online has suddenly now moved to about 130 to 150 million people who are now beginning to start buying online because of digital payment mechanisms. We all see Nitin Gadkari talking about the Mumbai-Delhi Expressway and several new roads which are being built in this country. Of course, a lot of those roads take time to actually take shape and to be established, but certainly the road connectivity in this country, and I'm sure Sandeep will talk about it, but between road connectivity, better transportation, digital mechanisms, geo-spurring higher internet usage amongst people, and bandwidth being easier, which enables you to not just show text, but to show videos, what we are beginning to see is a completely new kind of consumer who now says that, why should I go to a store and buy? Why can't I buy? Not from a laptop, which used to be what it used to be in the past, but now from a mobile phone. And a mobile phone, which is a smartphone, which today is more than 50% of the mobile phone users in this country. So we are seeing a lot of macro changes around us in terms of what is happening. Coupled with that, we had COVID. And when we had COVID, a lot of us might think of it as a pandemic, but also think of it as retail transformation. It is retail transformation because suddenly you had to shop without getting out of your house. Suddenly you had to shop from your neighborhood shopkeeper as opposed to being able to travel distances. So the ways in which we shop suddenly transformed. And when that transformed, two things happened. One is those who were purely online began to see a huge upsurge in demand because a lot of new consumers started coming and buying from them who never ever were consumers or online consumers. So that is one thing that happened. And the second part of it is a lot of new markets suddenly opened up because people saying that my shop, local shop, does not seem to have the products. I can't go out anywhere else and buy. At least let me buy online. So that spurred improvement in terms of the online business. Of course, as the markets opened up, we began to see that initial surge in online, which I'm sure people like Sandeep will reflect on in terms of the numbers that actually went up in terms of deliveries, in terms of the number of loads. If I speak to somebody like a Big Basket, from X, they went to 7X, 10X in the first couple of weeks. And then, of course, it came down slightly because there was a lot of initial panic buying. But nevertheless, all that has actually helped a lot of online players to rapidly scale their businesses. So what you are now seeing is that after the market opened up, a lot of the offline players like Venu came back into market saying, now we can open stores. So if you're opening stores, then how do we make sure that we get the consumer? You can open a store, but if the consumer feels that if they're coming into a store they will get COVID, then obviously they want to still stay at home and shop. So they created hybrid shopping patterns. So what they said is, we'll have people in our stores, we'll do WhatsApp video calls with our consumers, get them to see the products, try on lipsticks where the sales assistant will put on a lipstick so that the color will be visible to the lady who's on the other end of the WhatsApp video call. So several such innovative jugaad systems actually developed in terms of what you might define as augmented reality, virtual reality, online commerce, etc. So those are the early rudimentary steps of transition from a pure offline business into trying to move into online. Of course, a lot of digital transformation technologies also came up, and a lot of these companies which were purely offline then started moving into adopting these digital transformation technologies. And when they did that, what they did realize is that there are new things and new ways to be able to do it. So today what we are seeing in this market, 2023, is that we have a market where you have a lot of the offline players who've adopted digital transformation technologies. You have a lot of the online players who actually are now trying to up the game, and some of them are saying that we can't only be online. So you have several D2C brands which have said that we need to now go offline, because obviously when you think of 130, 150 million consumers, it's not long before you begin to start seeing some plateauing of sales, because you're starting to hit the max potential in terms of online business. So then you realize that if you want to get the next 100 odd million customers, then you obviously need to get offline. So a lot of the pure online players are actually also moving offline in terms of creating offline presence. So what you are seeing is offline is trying to get more online, online is trying to get more offline. So it's creating what you might define as a multi-channel shopping environment. Now, it's a step away from what you might call as omni-channel, which a lot of us are more familiar with. But to get truly omni-channel, you need to be able to sing the same tune. Sandeep talked about a competition in his school where he sang a Bengali song and the violinist played a completely different song. Yet they got a consolation prize for the effort that they took. So in that same context, when you want to really be omni-channel, you actually have to make sure that you sing the same tune. And if you have to sing the same tune, that's a lot more effort than doing two independent things which really are not talking to each other. So omni-channel is still some way away for it to be truly omni-channel. So what I have here is a group of people, and we'll start with Gunjan. Gunjan unfortunately couldn't join us in person because he had a conflicting travel, but he has graciously agreed to join us from somewhere in the south is what I know, and he will speak to us. So what we'd like to do is to first structure this session in a manner where we will give each of the panelists an opportunity to share a few thoughts about their business and what do they think about the larger topic, which is hybrid shopping seamless experience. What do they think about it and how it applies to their business? Post the initial opening remarks, and that could vary from 5 to 15 minutes from each of them, we will then have a panel discussion where all four of them would be together, and in that panel discussion we will pose a few questions which are relevant to the topic at large, which goes beyond their opening remarks, and follow that up with a session for questions from the audience. So that's the way we're looking at structuring this larger 1.5 hour discussion. It's not all speeches, some conversations, and some questions. So shall we start with Gunjan? So we'll start with Gunjan. Gunjan is joining us virtually. So Gunjan, the floor is all yours now.
Hi, is my voice, can someone just give me a thumbs up or something? Viju, are you getting my voice?
Yes, absolutely.
Lovely. How do you say? Welcome and thank you for being here. Thank you for calling me out here. Right? As Viju said, it's unfortunate that I could not attend physically. Right? It would have been my pleasure. Calcutta has been a large part of my life, going backwards, and it's always a pleasure to come back to Calcutta. But nevertheless, as the discussion, as I think some of the speakers spoke before this, technology has enabled a lot of things, and this is one of those things that has got enabled. So here we go. I think, just to continue the thought strand, and I'll try and keep this short. I don't know what the speech, Viju, that you are promising people, but I just would like to share a few thoughts. I think the piece that I could sense from what you just heard was that consumers are changing, right? And that's the reality of life. We see consumers changing all the while. They have been evolving over a period of time, and this entire piece, which is of phenomenon of purchase through multiple channels, etc., right, is a clear manifestation of the same trend. And that is something that we are, as brands, etc., right, all of us, I guess, right, are always conscious and very aware of. Because if you don't change in line with the consumers, you are very, very likely to be left behind. And that has been a continuous effort over a period of decades for Bata, right? Very few companies last such a long period. We have been doing it, and more recently in the past, whether it be in terms of the kind of product portfolio that we've been working on, whether it be in terms of the way the stores look and the way they have been basically brought about, the way the brand is activated in front of the consumers. Technology is a very large piece, as well as in terms of channels, right? The various business models, whether it's franchise, whether it's newer concepts and brands being brought about, as well as e-commerce and company. So it's a continuous journey, and I don't think it's going to stop here. This phenomenon is only going to accelerate going forward. Consumers are more aware, they are seeing much more access to media, they see the latest trends across the world, and I'm sure my colleagues on the panel will only agree that this space will only accelerate going forward, and it's incumbent on us to keep up with it and maybe keep ahead of it. Thanks. With that, I'll close my opening remarks. Thanks, Pete.
Thanks, Pujit. What I'd like to now do is request Venu if he can share a few thoughts about what he thinks of the hybrid shopping seamless experience theme.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed members on the dais of the august audience. It's indeed a pleasure to be here in Calcutta this afternoon for the MCCI Retail Conference. And Namit, Manish, thank you for inviting me and having me over. The last time we did this virtually, and hence it's a double delight that I'm able to do it physically. Apart from being happy to be here amongst you, the bigger delight for me is also, and equally an attraction, is the fact that I'm talking to a room full of customers. Not just yourselves, your family, your team members, and indeed everyone you know around in the city, because Calcutta is one of our fastest growing markets for Shoppers Stop, and it is a city where we see immense potential for ourselves, and we want to continue that growth with the expansion that we have planned. And I'll talk about it a bit as we go forward. What I thought I would do, and I'll take probably about 10 minutes quickly, give you a brief introduction about Shoppers Stop itself. I think it will be fair to say most of you know Shoppers Stop. Shoppers Stop was probably the first large format retailer in the country and started in 1991. The year that just went by, we closed at 5,066 crores with an EBITDA of 324 crores. And we opened 11 department stores and 11 beauty stores during the year. A few other vital statistics for Shoppers Stop. We served 160 million customers during the year. We have, and we are blessed to have 9 million loyal First Citizen customers. And any given week, circa 75% of our business comes from these loyal customers. And that's something we are hugely indebted to. As of today, we have 98 department stores, 7 Home Stop stores, 85 Estee Lauder brand stores, which are MAC, Bobbi Brown, Clinique, Jo Malone, Too Faced. All of these boutique stores are operated by Shoppers Stop. And our latest venture, which is SS Beauty, which is the standalone beauty format, we have 11 of them as of today. And that's one we continue to expand. And in terms of space, we have 3.9 million retail space in over 50 cities. Just a quick brief introduction about Shoppers Stop. With that background, what I will now do is, and Biju, Manish, everyone touched upon the market, the opportunity in India, and as I touched, when we all look at these trends, these statistics, and at Shoppers Stop, our plan forward, our strategy, the 5-year strategy that we have got in place, I'll give you a flavor of what's in the background that's gone to making it, and how we have formulated our strategy based on that. So, first and foremost, what's happening in the global environment? Okay, I think Subrata, you need to help me. My slides have stopped moving. I'll just, yeah, okay. So skip to first and foremost, what's happening, and I think we all talked about it, touched upon it. There is a China plus one strategy, which clearly all of the global businesses are now adopting. And this is real, because no longer is China the favorite destination for manufacturing for most of the companies in the world. And India is the first beneficiary of it. And that's clearly being supported with the government incentives that is being provided, which is seeing a big shift of business into India. So that's the first big benefit coming into India. India is getting richer. And I think that's a known fact. A simple statistics to measure that. It took decades for India to get to its first trillion in GDP. The second trillion took 8 years. The third trillion took 5 years. And you see the trend. It's getting richer, it's happening fast. The middle class is growing. What's the size of the middle class? Is it 300 million, 400 million? To be honest, who knows? Depending on which data you read, it's large. What is definite is that it's large and it is growing. And that's the market that all of us in this room are really catering to. Right from the lower middle class to the middle class to the upper middle class, whichever way you look at it. Leave aside the top 2%, 1% at the top end, but the middle class itself growing is a big factor. Rise of small town India, and again, I don't think I need to elaborate on it. It's happening, and we were talking just a few minutes back in terms of, is it really metro tier 1, tier 2? I think it's just merging together as we go forward. And what was a tier 3 is becoming a tier 2 is becoming a tier 1, and so on and so forth. And that's continuing to happen, will happen, as all of the trends of earlier have come into play. This is a more recent phenomenon. Weddings are getting fatter and bigger. And the amount of money that is getting spent on weddings is real serious money now. Specifically for apparel and beauty, what we find, and we did a formal research on it, there are now formal 7 events that happen at a wedding. So it's 7 different opportunities for fashion retailers like us or beauty retailers like us, because it gives us 7 different opportunities to get makeup done, to get makeovers done, to sell our products, as well as costumes. So that's just a simple stack which is happening. Look forward, and you all know that India is a young country. 65% of India's population is under the age of 35, well-known fact. What is probably not as well talked about is the fact that in 25 years' time, India will still have a growing young population. And by 2047, 22% of the workplace in the globe will be Indian. I mean, just imagine, 22% of the global workforce will be Indian in 25 years' time. And it will still be a growing young country. And it will be the only large country which will have a young population. That's in terms of population and what's happening in terms of the economy. Shifting gears, and if you look at the environment, and I think all of us know, artificial intelligence is here and it's growing. Every single one of you, I'm sure, knows about ChatGPT today, and it was launched only in November of 2022. And the changes that AI is bringing is phenomenal, and that's something which each and every one, each and every business will have to adapt and adopt to. And it's not something to be feared, it's something to be used, because it will make productivity a lot better. It will mean reskilling, it will mean upskilling, and that's something which each of us will need to be aware of. Sustainability, it's here. There is no planet B. Everyone needs, and we have to be aware of it because our customers are aware of it, and they are wanting to play a part in it. They want to know how they can contribute. Customers are becoming more health conscious, and again, that's leading to changing consumer preferences in terms of what they're looking for. And finally, for every business, innovation is absolutely essential. And that's the overview. These are the trends that we have been aware of, and that's how these are the inputs which we have had for ourselves as we put our strategy together. So what are we doing at Shoppers Stop as these things are happening? Threefold really. First and foremost, customer. I talked about First Citizen, I talked about our loyal customer, and it's being there where our customer is. Moving from a product business to being a business that's centered on experience and engagement. Increasingly, it's not just about being where your customer is, offering them what they want, but also making shopping a pleasure. And that's an area where we are spending a lot of time and attention on. One simple example, we did very few makeovers in our beauty stores. Post-COVID, and as COVID went away, how do we get customers back into stores? And the one factor which was a unique differentiation for us was we have makeup artists in our stores. Every single Shoppers Stop store, every single beauty store has makeup artists. And we used that as a differentiating point. And we started off by saying, can we do 100,000 makeovers in the year? As the momentum gathered, in the year that just got over, April 22 to March 23, what we started off as doing 100,000 makeovers, we actually ended up doing 450,000 makeovers. Every single time we were getting a makeup done in the store, it was a point of upselling. It was a point where a relationship was being built, it is a point where that customer is becoming loyal to you. And that's just an example of how we are creating experiences and engagement. And that's the first thing in terms of what we're doing going forward. Second is about product and about we are a house of brands. As the markets evolved, post-COVID, D2C and D2C brands have become a reality. And these are young brands who are attracting a different customer. And we are embracing these brands ourselves. As combining with the traditional brands that we have, the powerhouse brands that we have, we've also welcomed a few D2C brands into our own stores and onto online, so that we are bringing in that new customer coming into our stores. And that's, we tried up with Goat Labs and we bought a number of the brands that they have. These are incubation brands, new brands who have never been offline, and we are their first offline partners. And some of the biggest brands in the country evolved from Shopper Stop. And we're continuing to do that journey with a new set of brands, the D2C brands. So that's the second thing which we are focusing on. And then the third thing about using technology, embracing technology, but also, and Biju used the word multi-channel, and moving from being a multi-channel retailer to an online retailer to being an omni-channel retailer. And that's the journey which we have set out for ourselves. Today, every single product that is sold in Shopper Stop across our 100 plus stores is available on shopperstop.com real time. The customer, when you shop, you don't know where it is coming from. That's our job. And thanks to partners like Sandeep's business, we would ship it from wherever to where the customer is. And using technology to optimize the logistics, using technology to be able to deliver in the fastest time possible is the job that we have. And hence, offering a true omnichannel experience to our customer, continuing to invest into technology, and also using the data that we get from that. And one of our biggest investments in the last 2 years has been on analytics and using the analytics to create persona for our customer, using the personas to create propensity models so that we are able to communicate to our customer with the eventual aim of being able to communicate as a segment of one, so that every customer gets an individualized experience. And as we invest into technology, into Omni, we are also continuing to expand physically because of all the reasons that we talked about. India is growing, customers getting richer, the market's evolving, the opportunity is huge. And we've committed to open at between 12 to 15 department stores every single year for the next 3 years, between 15 to 20 beauty stores in the every single year in the next 3 years. Because beauty is the other business that we are hugely invested into, and it's at the cusp of exploding. And we feel that we are at the right stage to be able to capitalize on that expansion. And I'm delighted to share that in the next 6 months, we will be opening the biggest beauty store the country would have seen in Calcutta. And that's something which we are very excited about. Talk to you more about in a few months' time. Thanks for that hearing, and I look forward to interacting with you further as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Venu. And to continue the same opening remarks, may I now request Sandeep to be able to share a few words. Sandeep's from Delivery, Chief Business Officer and Executive Director at Delivery, which is one of the leading logistics fulfillment partners that you can have. So, Sandeep, over to you.
Thanks, Biju. Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to have a session post-lunch, right? How are you guys all feeling today? Everyone's awake? Yeah. Oh, great. Thanks for this opportunity, and my respected fellow members of the speakers, all the audience. For me, it's a hard one to follow because I've learned so much in the last 45 minutes. I'm not sure how much more I can add because almost everything that I wanted to say between Gunjan, Biju, and Vinu, they've already said. But hopefully I can underline some of the messages that they've already shared, because I think some of the messages are the key ones to take away. I'm hoping that at the end of my 10 minutes or whatever, I'll leave you with 2 takeaways, and I'll repeat them at the end as to what they are. But when I was talking to Manish as to what he wants me to cover today, he talked about me sharing my view on the economy, what's happening in retail and FMCG based on my experience as a consultant and then being in delivery for the last 8-9 years. The advent of digital, and there's been a lot of talk about digital. Something about delivery. I guess a lot of people are curious about what this company is. But also start off with my journey. I'm not going to bore you with my journey. It's not worth it, except for one point. Last 20 years I've lived in Delhi. Before that I was out of the country for a while. But deep down, I'm a Kolkata boy. I was born here. I went to school here till class 4, and my family still lives here. So for me, it's a real privilege to be speaking to a home audience. And hopefully, we'll do a better job of singing this time between the rest of the speakers and me, and it won't sound like cacophony like back in school. So let me start off by talking about the economy. I think Venu's covered most of what one can say about the economy. I can tell you personally, myself and we as a company are extremely bullish on India. We think the future is extremely bright. We have now become the most populous nation on planet Earth with a young population. We've had the highest GST collections in the month of April. In a world that's affected by this massive storm, India seems to be like a large, calm island in the middle of it all. And it's a special place for all of you to be at this point of time. Look at what's happening with infrastructure. We talked about infrastructure. When I joined delivery in 2015, it would take us about 48 hours, or maybe 53 hours, for a truck to go from Delhi to Mumbai. And it would be a 32-feet single axle truck. Today, delivery primarily operates 46-feet tractor trailers. You don't see them on Indian roads. You used to see them outside the country. Now you do see them because we actually run the largest fleet of tractor trailers. And it takes us about 27 hours. And when the Delhi-Mumbai road is finished, it's going to take us 18 hours. So that's what's actually happening in terms of infrastructure in the country. And that's the playing field that you are now starting to operate in. So I think there's a confluence of 3 things happening. There's an aspirational population. A lot of it is young. There's unbridled access to technology. It can do crazy things today. And everybody has access to it. And there's massive improvement in infrastructure and what the government is doing. Look at IPL, for instance. Look at the opportunity it creates for people in small towns. People who never thought sport could be a career. Now you've got so many other sports that are actually evolving out of that. And you could create something like Dream 11 gets created, which is a source of engagement, enjoyment for millions of people. The other day I was talking to my driver as to why he plays it, and he showed me the app. For the first time I actually saw what happened. There were 14 crore people who joined an IPL match with 49 rupees each on Dream 11. For the next 3 hours, they were entertained. It was a marketing opportunity for lots of businesses. It was an entertainment opportunity for those individuals. But then it also was starting to open up career opportunities for people in small towns who actually aspire to actually make it big that day. Ultimately, they're going to be your consumers. They are your consumers. So that's really what's actually happening in this economy. Every time a Vande Bharat train starts or connects to places, there's a lot more happening than just a train going from one place to another place. Those people who travel on that train, their mindset is permanently altered. Because for the first time, they actually can ask for more, they can receive more. And that quality mindset is shifting. Because it's an experience they were not used to. It's an experience they never thought we as a country can deliver. And they're experiencing that. And that changes the market. And that's happening across the country. It's not something that's happening just in the west or the north or the south. It's happening across the country. I believe Bengal is about to get its second Vande Bharat train sometime very soon. So I believe it has never been easier than today to actually start a new business and to build a new brand. Platforms like Shopify, Instagram, and now ONDC are really making the market accessible to anybody who wants to start a new business. You know, we have a sales team whose job is to go and acquire new D2C customers for logistics every month. And every month that target changes, and you wonder, where are they going to find more D2C customers? We've covered every month. But yet, every single month, we find more and more D2C customers. Now, many of these companies will die. Not all of them will succeed. But the guys who actually fail the first time, they try again. And they try again. Because that spirit actually is starting to set in. So, you know, and it has become so much easier. You don't really need to think about competing with Unilever for distribution or with ITC for marketing spend. It's a very, very targeted group that you're going after. And you'll find them on Instagram. You'll find them on Shopify. And you can just do social media. You can do influencer marketing. Your marketing budget can be 2 lakhs. It doesn't have to be 20 crores. And it's a unique time for us to be operating in this market. So, and then let's talk about some of the trends that are actually also happening in India at the same time, right? I don't think the Indian retail consumption is as much about penetration anymore as it's about frequency, upscaling, upgrading, and premiumization. And it's happening across the board. Premiumization doesn't mean that somebody has to go from a 200 rupee item to a 2000 rupee item. They're going from 200 rupee item to 250 to 300. Premiumization is happening at every single level. Experiences are more important than products. That's what people want. Individualism is more important than following the herd. So customization becomes very, very important. People want to express themselves. Social media has done that to people. Every selfie, you know, is basically an expression of individual self. And they want to do the same thing with what they consume, what they wear, what they eat, and they want people to think about themselves. So India is a very interesting place. It's very similar to other large-scale countries which are quite vibrant in nature. You know, think about Indonesia, think about Vietnam. But I think we truly do stand out as a nation at this point of time. And you know, somebody told me once that the West has gone through a journey where you first had organized modern trade, and then you had, so Walmart came first and eBay came after that. Large screens came first and small screens came after that. Well, India is different. India, Indonesia, Vietnam, we're going to keep leapfrogging. And that trend is going to keep changing. There is going to be no large screen to small screen. We're going to have both. We're going to have people who are still consuming large screen, and we've got a whole bunch of people who immediately go to the small screen. The guy who's never owned a TV is watching IPL on Jio Cinema right now, and watching it every single day. You're going to have small towns where the physical shopper stop is going to be very important, but you're going to have Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Calcutta, where the endless aisle of 24/7 shopperstop.com is very, very important. And they're both going to happen at the same time. So in terms of trend, we're very, very dynamic as a country. So my first message I want you to take away is future is bright, so please be excited. Be excited about the market that you're operating in. And along with that, be agile. Because the trends in this market are extremely dynamic. You don't know what innovation is going to change the trend in which way. ChatGPT is a year-old concept. Everybody's talking about it. Internet took maybe 10 years to settle in. Social media 5 years. ChatGPT is a year. So things keep getting faster and faster and faster. So my first message: be excited, but please be agile. Which brings me to the logistics industry, which is very large, but has not been agile for a very, very long period of time. The Indian logistics industry is over 300. It's going to be a $300 billion opportunity in the next 5 years. It's already $200 billion today. And that does not include ocean freight, that does not include rail, it does not include river. If you add that, the market becomes even larger. There are very few industries which actually offer you a base of $200 billion in terms of opportunity. But at the same time, it's a highly, highly fragmented and underdeveloped logistics industry. Most developed markets, or most large economies, always create large logistics companies. If you look at North America, you look at US, you've got UPS and FedEx. FedEx, I think, is about 63 billion, and UPS is over 100 billion in size. If you look at Europe, you've got the likes of DHL, DSV, Kuehne+Nagel, massive companies. You look at China, SF, YTO, ZTO, all multi-billion-dollar companies. For a $3 trillion economy, which spends over $200 billion in logistics, we've never produced even $1 billion company. And there are a lot of good reasons for it. One is the industry itself, which has never really invested behind technology, never invested in capacity, never invested in automation. Thought of it as a hardware problem rather than a software problem. It's actually a data and software problem. It's not a hardware problem at all. There are 4.5 million trucks in India. If you own 450 trucks, you're not going to change anything. It's what you do with those 4.5 million trucks that actually is really, really important. So part of the reason is the industry. Part of the reason is we never had a single market until GST came. So there was no incentive for the industry to also actually really invest. So you had lots of, if you look at the names of most transporters, it'll be Jaipur Golden Highway, or it'll be some, Guwahati Delhi Express. So the names actually tell you the extent of how they operated. They didn't become large scale. They didn't create an integrated network and platform. And so the business has evolved that way. And lastly, I'm assuming most of you run businesses here or involved in businesses here that use logistics. Actually, you are responsible for the underdevelopment of this industry. Because you've looked at logistics as the last thing that you do. It is not strategic to you. It is left to the procurement department to find the cheapest truck they can, or the cheapest square feet of land that you can store something in. So it's not strategic to your go-to-market. Well, it should be strategic. When you suddenly start thinking about omnichannel, when you start thinking about the endless aisle, when you start thinking about 24/7 shops, when you start thinking about the fact that every item that Venu has in the store is available real time online, logistics is no longer something you can leave and decide on at the end. It has to be on your drawing board when you're starting your business. It has to be part of your core strategy. And the best logistics talents in the country are not actually in the companies. They're actually in logistics companies. So go talk to them. If you want to do advertising and brand, a lot of big companies will have that, but you go to agencies for that. And go to logistics companies, talk to them, make them as part of your strategy, because that's when you will really unlock the value of what logistics can do. At Delivery, we are a young company. We are a 12-year-old company. We started in 2011. The company started its business, really off serving the e-commerce logistics market, so parcels. If you go back 12 years ago, when e-commerce had really started off 12, 13, 14 years ago, India was never really a parcel market. We've had a blue-collar migrant population. We've never had a white-collar migrant population, except for students. So people have never really felt the need to send parcels to each other, which means our postal networks or our courier operators were more designed to deal in documents rather than mobile phones. And so there was a need to create this new industry which actually focused on parcels and delivered it to the customer reliably, without soaps being exchanged for mobile phones, etc., all those stories that you've heard. And companies like Delivery and our competitors were born out of that. But we saw early the opportunity to actually really build an integrated logistics company, because we did see the fact that India really needs that multi-billion-dollar logistics company, and not one, several. You need many deliveries, not just one, to really unlock the potential of China plus one for India. And so we always wanted to build an integrated company. On the back of our parcel business, we built a part truckload business. Essentially, they're very, very similar businesses. On the back of our part truckload business, we built a full truckload business. We added warehousing, and then we built a supply chain business, and then of course, with FedEx, we now actually have the cross-border business. So we have all these 5 lines of business. Express business, we clearly dominate the market. I think we're close to almost 2 billion parcels in the history of the company. So if any of you give me your phone numbers, I can tell you what we've carried to your house in the last 10 years. So we actually do have the data on every single person in this room, I'm sure. We would have arrived at some point, which means we have a geocode to your house, attached to your phone number, your preference of when you like to receive your parcel. If you're a business, we know where we picked up from, how many locations you have, and all of that is sitting as data. It's a data business. Every single parcel, whether it's a B2B parcel or B2C parcel that goes through a network, goes through massive amounts of automation, is scanned about 150 times. We publish everything through an API. You can consume as much of it as you want. But we know how long a parcel sat where for whether it sat for minutes, whether it sat for hours, what's actually happening to it. Did it get damaged? Did it reach reliably? What did the customers say? We collect over $3.5–4 billion of cash a year because 60–70% of India is still COD. And all of that's actually happening on an everyday basis. Just last quarter, Q3 of last year, we did, I think, over 170 million parcels. And we are now India's largest supply chain and logistics company. We did 1,800 crores plus in just the previous quarter. We'll have our results for the full year in Q4, end of next week. So that's sort of the business we've built, but the core of the business is built around technology. You know, when I was growing up, I used to see these ads for Tata Steel which said, "Is baat bhi hum banate hain." We are that company. Logistics bhi hum karte hain, because the core of the business is tech and data sciences. We have over 450 people just doing tech and data sciences. So the concept of innovation that Vinu talked about is very, very true. We don't look at logistics as a physical movement of goods. It's actually information. So it's designed differently, massive amount of infrastructure, massive amount of tech and data sciences, a lot of automation, and really built around first principles of engineering. What does it mean for you as a business? You know, when I think about retail businesses, when I think about FMCG businesses, what do you really want? There is this friction between offline and online. And as the earlier speakers have said, it's not about offline and online, it's both. It is the hybrid format. They're just different channels. For some businesses, online will make a lot more sense. For some businesses, offline will make a lot more sense. But for most businesses, you'll need a mix of offline and online. You know, if you are in the Northeast, which is very fashion conscious, they want the latest pair of Nike shoes. But that store can't carry that many. Or they want the latest pair of shoes that Gunjan's offering. But there's only so much you can carry. So the online store of Bata does offer the endless aisle, does offer 24/7. And think about the traffic in our cities. If you're a young couple, when do you shop? You shop between 8 o'clock in the evening and 11 o'clock at night. Which stores are open at that point in time? Are you going to give up that sale? And are you going to give up the sale when the customer does come to your store because you have a stock out? How do you actually sell the customer? Get it to him later. How do you make sure your shelf is up to the mark in the first place? How do you get shelf uptime in the first place? Now, these are the questions that businesses should be asking themselves. You know, how do I get uptime on my aisle? How do I get the endless aisle? How do I get 24/7 store? How do I optimize my inventory? How do I reduce my working capital? If I can speed up my replenishment cycles, will I make my working capital more efficient? Can I send smaller lots to my distributors? Can I make their working capital more efficient? Without actually having to forego the full inventory that you can sell or full array of goods that you can actually sell. Can I do it reliably? Can I do it without damages? Can I do it without pilferage? Can I give visibility to my distributor? Can I give visibility to my end customer? How much customization can I do? If you are, you know, does X always have to come in one smell or 10 smells? Can I not get my own individualized smell? Look at what Asian Paints has done with colors. They literally stock a base product at every single Asian Paints outlets, but they can give you any color you want. Why can't you do that with deodorant? Why can't I get onto a website and make my own deodorant and I get 6 packs of it sent to my house with my name on it 3 weeks later? So what I'm going to leave you with as my second message is logistics is core part of your strategy. As you think about retail, as you think about hybrid retail, as you think about new ways of approaching consumers, logistics is your friend. And it has to be, you have to bring it into the drawing board and not think of it as something at the end and ask some guy to say, "Sasta truck le ke aa." That Sasta truck will break down and will affect your business. So again, repeating my 2 messages. Be excited, but be agile. And remember, delivery is your friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandeep. And Shubhankar represents the jewelry business. He also represents Calcutta, having his origins in Calcutta as a family business for several years. And it's a business which, like, you know, bullock carts and barges carrying goods for centuries, jewelry also has been a business which has lived through centuries. So could you share a few thoughts of yours on the subject, Shubhankar?
Sure, I can just, rather than going to the podium, because it's been like a lot of knowledge, a lot of experiences that all of you have been sharing with all of us, and I'm sure our members from MCCI and Calcutta, there's so much to learn from all of you. But it really feels good as a homegrown brand from Calcutta to be a part of the esteemed speakers and to address all of you as the audience. Now for Senko, before I begin into the certain experiences of mine that I can share with all, if we look at the journey, see, whatever we are today is not that it has happened overnight. I can just share a personal experience as I begin the journey in the year 2008. That time our company turnover was about 100 odd crores. And then we said that, fine, it looks like, 2007-8, that was the first time when you could see the crisis happening in the US and a lot of changes happening in the Indian economy, and things were changing. Today we speak of technology, we speak of young consumers. This journey actually of young consumers, changing consumers' trends, their desires, have started maybe 15 years back when we were of the age of 20, 25. So that was the advent that we could see. And we say, let's aim for a turnover of 1,000 crores. And I want to share with all of you that this is one part, as members of the industry, that one must aim and goal at a higher level so that we all work towards it. Today, as we speak, our company has crossed 4,000 crore turnover in the last 15 years. So the point is that once you all set a goal for yourself, you keep working towards the goal, and you will also see that circumstances and situations around your environment will help you to achieve the goal that you're aiming for. That is number one. The second thing that I would like to speak of is that as you progress in the journey, there are four things that you need to keep. While I was hearing the discussions, trends, technology, in terms of what you can achieve, it is very, very critical, especially in retail, is the team, the training of the team that you need to do. Because that will make sure that you, as the owner of the brand, will be envisioning that, yes, this is something that you can achieve. But if you do not train your team, if you do not make sure that they are aligned to your vision, then it will just be like a baggage that you'll be carrying forward. So it's better that you keep on getting them trained and align them to your vision so that while you run for the journey, they are there with you to push you ahead rather than pull you back. Now, in terms of the trends that we are talking about, jewelry as a category, we are all aware that today, as we see that the working population of the country is increased. Women are now also working. We are analyzing data. Now, this is very, very critical that today we had implemented ERP in the year 2007-8. As soon as I joined, I was trying to make sure that the business that you run, if you have to scale up, if you have to expand, the first thing you need to do is to make sure that you are not running it in a very random way, but you're running it in a very systematic approach and in a very system-driven, data-oriented manner. So the first thing that one needs to do is to make sure that whatever be your stores, today we have 136 to 140 stores, out of which 76 stores are company-owned, company-operated. Now we have been able to reach out to the tier 2, 3, 4 cities of the country because we started a franchisee model. And while we have all the various national brands who have been able to penetrate into the smaller towns, we could do it because why? Because your funds are your constraints. You can only have that much to grow. So how do you grow? You have to take teams along with you. You have to have partners along with you. So we could get into the smaller tier 2, 3, 4 cities, giving franchises to them. So there was an owner. So you had the brand, you were investing in the brand, you're investing in the technology, and then there was someone at the ground level, be it your store manager or your franchisee partner, who has his own dreams and aspiration, and we are working together to capture the market. So this is how you get into the smaller towns and cities. So, we started the journey, and today we could only do it, and then expansion is a part in which you can expand. But then how do you control? How do you make sure that the products are being sold in the manner that you want to sell? You have to create your standards, you have to create your SOPs. And these are all, things that did not happen overnight. We all knew that, yes, these are things to be done. But every year, every month, every day, you as an entrepreneur have to aim for one improvement that you do every month. You cannot change the whole system at one go. It is too much for an individual to accept. But you must have a plan that, yes, from day 1 to day 365, my company or myself as a person, as an entrepreneur, I need to take from here to there. and step by step, you know that these are the best practices. We got ISO got implemented in the year 2007-8. Recently, we again did an ISO. ERP got implemented in 2007-8. Today, we can do data analysis. We exactly know that in which store, what kind of product, what kind of category, what is the price point, which is the consumer. So we have more than 25 lakh consumer all across, out of which we can see that say 15 lakh consumers are active, 10 lakh consumers are dormant. So then you are approaching them, you are sending them messages, WhatsApp, trying to connect with them if they are a gold buyer, if they are a diamond buyer, if they are a budget of 1 lakh per year, or if there is a budget of 5 lakh per year. So based on the data of who's wanting to buy what and what is their need, you are kind of taking that kind of a message. And also, in the whole last 2 to 3 years, when we have thought of the transformation, now when there was a pandemic, we could see that consumers were not coming to the store. So today we have online players coming offline. In the jewelry industry, we are seeing that people have begun the journey in online, and now they have started opening stores all across the country. And for players like us who have been in the physical business for more than 50 years, we realized that it was not possible that the consumer is having time to come to your store always. So you get into your online model, you have your e-commerce, you make sure that the products that are there, your new designs that you are launching, you make those are all on the e-commerce platform, making multiple brands. So for example, for us, Senko is a brand which stands for craftsmanship, karigari, for the wedding jewelry, for the traditional customer. But for the young generation, we launched brands like Everlight, which is about working jewelry, casual jewelry. We launched a brand called Gossip, which was all about fashion and silver jewelry. Because every consumer has a different kind of need. And we need to make sure that the ambience that we create, not only at the store, but also in the e-commerce, is also of a similar manner. One must understand that, say, even 7 years back, as a brand, we could see that advertisement in the newspaper was an integral part of your business expansion. But over the last 3-4 years, media has changed. The time consumers are spending with the newspaper might be 5 to 10 minutes. But the time the consumer is spending on the mobile phone is 3 hours, 4 hours. So as a brand and as an organization, if you want to reach to your consumer, you need to understand that how do you reach the consumer in that correct way, so that your message is actually reaching to them. And it's not about just reaching them. You have to grab their attention. Now, in order to grab their attention, the creatives that you need to do has to be such that it grabs the attention. Because the attention span of the consumer is also decreasing over the years. Initially, we could go to a movie hall. We can talk all about ourselves. And 2.5, 3 hours, we could watch the movie without really getting distracted. Today, while watching a movie, you ask yourself, you will be half the time looking into your mobile phone, trying to see what any message has come or any other news has come in. So therefore, one has to work towards understanding the need of the consumer. Time has become a constraint. Today, all of us are busy. Like what Sir said, that after 8 o'clock, how many showrooms can remain open? In the Western countries, stores are open till 10, 10:30. Here, the labor laws needs to change so that we can flexibly have people working. Safety of the women staff have to be worked upon. There are so many aspects that have to be thought of to really make sure that we can continue to serve to the consumer. In the pandemic, one more thing that we did is that we told the stores that forget that you are a retailer. You are not a retailer. Think that you are a warehouse, you are a call center, you are everything. So the salesperson are not waiting for the consumer to come, that they are calling the consumer with whatever they have. We created a platform in which each and every store could upload the designs that they have, leaving out whatever is there in our e-commerce platform is there. But along with that, we had a mini platform in which everyone could upload their designs, and they were sharing that link to the customers, taking appointments, doing video calls, and that practice continues to happen. Today, a consumer is using e-commerce or the digital way of looking at design as something to explore and take a decision. And then they're coming to the store and then finally having a final touch and feel, making the payment and taking it. The other thing that we did while everyone was locked in the lockdown is we started a concept called digital gold. Now here, for a consumer, and especially the young generation consumer, for as low as rupees 250, you could keep on saving gold by an app and a portal. So that just allows the consumer that no matter 24 hours, wherever you are, you could be in the bathroom, you could be in the bedroom, but you know that the gold price has come down, you buy a little bit of gold, and then you can sell the gold, or you can go to the store and redeem it to buy a jewelry and get a special offer. So the whole point is that our thinking needs to just open up. We cannot say that, we are constrained by the four walls. No. As an Eastern India company, you all must think that, no, my market is not only my locality. My market is the global world. Today, thanks to the, the e-commerce platform, the eBays, the government is actually helping the industry so that our e-commerce, not only for jewelry, for all the products, we can sell it to market all over the world. So you need to start thinking that if, thanks to the internet and technology, if our consumers are looking at products and the trends that is happening all over the world, we as Indians should also think that the world is our market. If we are taking the presidency of G20 and everyone is looking at India, and India has to grow from a 3 trillion or 4 trillion to a $10 trillion economy, it will happen if we all are a part of the growth, and if we can capture the attention of the consumers not only in our country but all over the world. So very, very important is to start dreaming big and thinking big and looking beyond the four walls and looking beyond our limited geography. Yes, at the same time, there are pains, there are a lot of disciplines in terms of your thinking process. And like you must have read in Stephen Covey's book, that there are things which are important and there are things which are urgent. Now, as entrepreneurs, we are always trying to solve the urgent crisis moments. And we forget in that urgency and this crisis management, things which are good in the long run. And I can only say that if we plan ourselves and say, while we invest in growing our business and ensuring that the basics of our businesses are being done, but in terms of investment in branding, investment in technology where the returns will not happen immediately, looking at data, analyzing and planning accordingly, and then finally building up the team. These are things which are very, very important. And you will only see that once you make these basics right, in the future, after 1 year, 2 years, your business will move from one level to another level. So this is how I look at it in terms of the hybrid and the seamless technology. We are trying to use technology in each and every aspect, not only in terms of customer experience. We are looking at technology in terms of data analysis and efficiency. We are also using technology in terms of training of the consumer. We actually are not just looking at a traditional retail as traditional retail, like what we see in Shoppers Stop. We have a whole call center running in our head office where consumers are continuously asking for what is the price of this design on a Facebook, on an Instagram, or there is a chatbot in our website. Consumers are asking for the gold price. So there is a team of 15 people at the head office who are answering the consumers, leading to the stores. So it's all about connecting the dots, the various touch points of the consumer. It is not possible individually for, say, a single entrepreneur or a small setup to do it. You have to keep giving responsibility to your multiple family members, to your multiple team members. India is a young country, and I must say that there are two aspects that I can personally see. While I was there, someone asked that there is an HR related issue because you have certain senior people who are working with you, and there is a level of knowledge that they have, and there are young employees of yours who might have the enthusiasm and the energy, but they do not have the knowledge. So how do we as entrepreneurs balance it out? And that is how one can do by systematic documentation of the knowledge. It is all about using technology, using system and processes so that there's a smooth transformation of knowledge from the senior members of your team to the junior members of your team. And that is how you as an individual can keep guiding them, telling them, sharing your vision, and they will keep executing. So this is what I think that as a real life case study, while we can see that there are opportunities in the world, we can see that technology can be used, there are these best practices, but ultimately the success lies in executing those knowledges. Or else we'll come and we'll hear, but ultimately one has to do, and you cannot do it alone. So build your team, ensure that you invest in technology, look at the data, analyze it, go deep, keep following up, and you'll surely achieve what you want to achieve. So that's from my part.
Thank you. Lovely. Thank you. That is truly very inspirational, very motivating, and I think for a large proportion of the audience, which is, medium, small, large companies which are here, to hear the story of a 4,000 crore journey and to hear the way you've built strong foundations on which that journey has been established, I think is truly great. Let me now switch to a few questions. And I know Gunjan started off and he's been waiting patiently for the last hour and a half. So Gunjan, the first question is to you. The oldest retailer in India, and I think Bata came to India in 1930 odd. You're talking about a company which has actually lasted for more than 90 years at this point of time. A company which is adapting to a changing consumer. Footwear earlier was seen as a functional product which lasted for years. Today people are seeing footwear as fashion products which lasts for a short period of time as much as a season. Two things. Transforming Bata to adapt to this changing consumer and transforming the product range from being functional to fashion. What are some of the challenges that you've gone through which might serve as a learning experience for the audience out here?
Thanks, Peter. Thanks for the kind words. You are accurate. It is 1931, so 90 years plus and counting. Right? As I mentioned at the starting note, very few brands and companies live that long. Right? And there is something that is there in the DNA of the organization. It's how do you say, values and beliefs that somewhere keep it alive and refreshed. As I mentioned at the start, I think it originated, by the way, in Calcutta, right? Very close to most probably where you are sitting. There is a big site out there. We still have our largest factory out there. That's called Patanagar, and many of the people I'm sure in the audience know about it. So coming back to your question, you're right, and it's product. It is the brand, but it is many other facets, right? And it's all together, and it's an ongoing journey. And I think the decade of 2000 to 2010, Bata moved from about 500 crores to about 1,000. 2010 to 2020, it's moved from 1,000 to 3,000. So mathematics is there, right? I mean, we are seeing India progress, and we want to make sure that we progress along with it. 3-4 things that have happened, right? And I'll talk about the challenges that you have looked for also, right? So one is for sure, it's become a fashion accessory, right? It's become a fashion statement. So the number of pairs that consumers hold in their wardrobe have most probably, anywhere between the strata of consumer, but in the SECA B class would have moved to almost quadruple, right? The shoes require wardrobes by themselves, and I'm sure Homestock and Renu was offering those, right? And that goes on to show basically the kind of propensity that people have towards making sure that they've got the right shoe for the occasion, right? What's also happened along with it is that there's a significant amount of casualization that has gone into the entire footwear market. And there are various kinds of new materials that have come in, there are various kinds of new features that have come in, which is making that in addition to this transformation, and this is not an easy transformation. I think while Bata has made its journey, I think there is still a long way that we can keep doing on this. What happens when organizations need to go through this kind of a change, and whether it's the facet of the product or whether it be in terms of technology, right? Or as I said, basically in terms of how do you personify the brand and bring it alive in front of the consumers. I think the biggest piece that is most probably the challenge and the opportunity for small or large businesses is basically how, I think Sandeep mentioned it, is one is agility, and the second one is ability to see outside it. Right? How can you make sure that you are amenable to change and being able to listen to what the consumers are sending and sound signals to you? If you are not able to do it, if you are not able to understand the best practices that are happening in the marketplace, if you are not able to, partner with the best in market that is available to you. So, for example, we are in a massive expansion spree. We have added last year almost about 120 franchise stores, right? Most probably, and that's the largest ever, almost double of what we did pre-COVID in the single largest year. And there's no reason why it looks like this year is going to be even larger. Now, one of the ways that we go about trying to map out the right kind of markets for this is to figure out which are the towns, etc., where we feel that the brand fit is right and we will get the economies of scale, and then search for a local partner and entrepreneur to leverage. Now, to figure the right town itself is a science by itself. Now, we were hitherto trying to do it ourselves. Now, what you see is that there are partners available in the market who are experts at this. They know exactly the kind of demographics that various towns and even consumer cohorts in larger cities have. Which are the ones that are what kind of profile, what disposable income, and therefore what matches you. And once you are able to actually convert all this data into insightful information, it makes amazingly that same challenge becomes much easier. Then it's just a question of do you have enough hands and legs to get it done. And therefore, so I think the key principle is that are you agile enough in your mindset? Are you amenable? Are you listening to the consumer signals all the time? And the last one I would say is basically, are you open to imbibing best practices and hopefully even partners which are now available because of all the startups that are running all the time with new technologies.
Thanks. Thank you, Gunjan. Sandeep, a question to you, and this is in the context of the industry that you're in, which I would say is, as you said very rightly in your speech, how do you make it a strategic partner of your business? The second part about it is that in terms of the formalizing of the economy and consequently the formalizing of the industry, so from the extreme fragmentation which existed in the past, what you're beginning to see is consolidation and larger organizations emerging from a large number of small companies. However, we've seen 2 or 3 factors at play which seem to have driven this, and it would be useful to understand from you what these 2 factors would mean. One is in terms of reforms. The reforms that the government has undertaken in order to ensure that logistics becomes cheaper as a proportion of the total cost and speedier to make India more competitive in the world. And the second is in terms of GST and the changes that it has made to the way the logistics industry operates. Could you just shed some light on this?
Sure. So you're right. I think there's a long way to go in terms of consolidation, but a lot of it has happened, absolutely. Firstly, there is a bit of a misnomer of this, and Manish asked the same question sitting here, that India is the most expensive country from a logistics perspective, and there are numbers thrown out there saying that we are 11% of our GDP goes in logistics, whereas developed countries is 8% or something like that. I was the co-chair of the CI National Committee of Logistics for a couple of years. We did a study, and one could not really figure out how much a logistics cost really is. And that was 8% or 10% or 11%. The cost of moving 1 kilo of part truckload in this country today from Delhi to Mumbai is 10 rupees a kilo. Like, think about that. What will it become? There's a point at which it can't get any cheaper because there's a cost of fuel that you can't replace. Yes, river transport will make it slightly cheaper, but that's really for commodity goods. If you're moving steel and cement, you are not going to move a few cartons of toothpaste or even shoes on the riverway. Because you really need that. The last mile will become so expensive that eventually the cost will increase. It's actually the waste that actually happens in logistics that actually causes the cost of logistics to go up. It is the amount of damages that you have. It's the speed that actually increases your cost. It's the total cost of supply chain. When you add the working capital cost on top of that, that's what causes the real cost. Coimbatore to Delhi should not take 7 days. It should be 48 hours. Or maybe 54 hours at best, 56 hours. It should not take that long. And you should not have trucks that break down every few days or every 200 kilometers. You should not have tolls that actually a truck will be stuck in for a whole day and you lose time. So it is the inefficiency in our economy that actually drive cost of supply chain, not the individual cost of supply chain. The 4.5 million trucks I talked about on Indian roads, the average truck in India drives 7,000 kilometers a month. The average truck on our network drives 25,000 kilometers a month. It's possible. And reforms have made that possible. So there's a misnomer about what logistics cost is. I think the people who are using logistics are as responsible for those logistics costs to be very high as the people who actually provide the services. And their fragmented nature is definitely causing some of that. But even after they consolidate, if you have 5 large logistics companies in India, $5 billion companies in India, that's 25 billion out of a $300 billion market. It's still very small. So logistics will always remain very, very fragmented. Many people can participate in this market. It will remain fragmented. Now, what matters is how you're using it. How do you actually take out the inefficiency? Work with your partner to take out the inefficiency. Now, reforms have helped. GST is the biggest reform. Because till GST happened, you had too many complications. You didn't have a single market. There was no incentive. Then e-way bills happened. Now, the reason why you were able to shrink that time between Delhi and Mumbai from 54 hours to 28 hours is not just because the road infrastructure has improved. That has happened. But the road infrastructure between Delhi and Mumbai has not incrementally improved in the last 8 years. It's improving now. But last 8 years for the last 6 years it's been common. It's because it has actually been all the reform. You don't have to stop at tolls. You have e-way bills. You have electronic way bridges. Makes a huge difference. It's a seamless movement of goods. All those nakas are gone. So that's a pure reform. Then the government actually created very specific gazetted weights for a truck. A 32 feet single axle truck can carry certain amount. A 32 feet double axle truck can carry certain amounts. They've specified all of these things. They've allowed tractor trailers. They were not allowed. We adopted it. We have a fleet of by the end of this year, we'll have a fleet of 1,000 tractor trailers. They've allowed us to register the tractor and the trailer independently, which means we literally have the tractor of the truck, which sometimes you've seen those trucks on the road which they don't have anything behind them. They just have the engine portion, and they normally carry containers from the port. We have similar kind of trucks. Now the trailers is where the goods are kept, the 46-feet trailers. They're attached to our warehouses or our transportation hubs. They're constantly being filled up and emptied. To fill one of them up and to empty them, without using any automation, can take 8 hours. With automation, it takes 4 hours. Now, we don't waste the time for the truck. The truck comes, picks up a trailer that's already filled, goes. And as it comes and drops it, it just has to come and drop one trailer which is already full off, pick up another one which is already completed, and off it goes. So you're really sweating the assets. When you do that, you actually can incrementally that cost can come down, and that pricing can. So I think it's less about pricing coming down, it's more about making our business more viable so that we can actually continue to offer the service that we are offering to the customer. Otherwise, no reason for us to exist.
Great, thank you. That's certainly very illuminating in terms of the business of logistics. Venu, a question to you. You've got shopperstop.com, you've got Shopperstop offline, and you've got a variety of ways of connecting with your consumer or your customer. So when you think about the data that you have of your customer, it's across, as Shubhankar was mentioning, it's a million terabytes of data spread across several databases. How do you actually develop a unified view of that customer, one, and then taking that unified view of the customer, translate that into insights which help you to run your business better?
It's a great question, and it's one which
we always struggle with.
We used to talk about quite a bit, and we actually got Accenture to help us a few years back. And the result of a lot of thinking, debating, etc., and we went ahead and invested into, firstly, and if I just take a step back, and elaborating on the point you raised, we have, and retail, for all of us, we've got a huge amount of data. The amount of data we have is so huge that it's impossible for us to actually use all of it in a say, organized manner. Just think about it. You've got data about customers coming into your store. If you've got a website, you've got the eyeballs that come in, the pages they go into, and so on and so forth. You've got products, hundreds of them, and you've got data about that. And then your loyalty program like ours, you've got data about them as well. So we had this huge amount of data sitting with us, but they were all on different systems, not talking to each other, and certainly not synchronized. So one of the first things we did was to invest into a data lake and got all of it literally into a data warehouse so that all of the data is talking to each other. And then we're able to use that data, synchronize with the various sources and use that further. And using the data lake, we then went on and created our own in-house program which we call Jarvis. And using Jarvis, and essentially it does use a lot of artificial intelligence to be able to use these terabytes of data that we have, get cohorts out of that, form personas from them, and we used something like 69 different attributes to create the personas of our customers, to be able to see what are the various factors of each of these personas, and based on that, what are they likely to do next. Using that, then to be able to talk to customers of what they are likely to be wanting to get from us. And if I just give you a simple example, and we do this quite often now, where you would get a communication from us where literally it would say, "Dear Biju, thanks for being with us for the last 5 years. You first walked into our Orion store in Bangalore in 2015, and since then you have visited us 21 times, and from what you have done, we believe these are the brands that you love the most. And as a gesture from us, here's an offer for you on your favorite brand for your next birthday, which happens to be 2 days away." So that's the level of personalization that we've been able to do. And it has been possible only because we started off with the data lake. Because you need to get all your data sources together first. And there's huge possibilities beyond what we've already done. And again, simple example, we've got data of customers walking into our stores because we're capturing that on our cameras. How do we use that better? Today technology is available where you can actually dissect and you are able to actually say, did that customer walk in wearing an Indian wear dress or a Western wear dress? And then go on to see what did she buy from us? And hence the correlation. And use that correlation to further be able to communicate. So those are some of the areas we are working on even as we go forward.
Great, thank you. Remarkable work that's happening. Shivanka, one question to you. The jewelry industry is, the largest industry, if you were to look at it in terms of the lifestyle category, and the largest after food and grocery. If you look at jewelry as a category, it's moved from historically being an investment product to now become a fashion product. If you looked at the consumers, and by and large it's mostly women, the young Indian woman, jewelry competes, as we were discussing earlier, with an iPhone 14 in terms of what she wants to buy. Then there are the 20 years and the 30-year-olds for whom there are several priorities and they're going to work. So even if they do buy jewelry, a lot of it is workwear. And then you have the older Indian woman. So when you think of different kinds of customers, when you yourself talked about different brands built on different materials, silver, gold, diamonds, etc. And when you think of the newer products coming in, like lab-grown diamonds, etc., what do you see as the shape of the industry if you were to be a soothsayer 5 years from now?
So see, currently, for the information of all, the jewelry industry is about a 4 lakh crore industry. So it's quite a large industry. And what we have been seeing in the last 5 years, that the shift from the unorganized to organized is happening in a big way. And that is, say, from a 50-50 or a 60 unorganized and 40 organized, it's now completely reversed. It's 60 organized and 40 unorganized. And along with that, what you said, that the consumer needs are changing. So we used to see heavier products, bridal segment, used to capture almost 65 to 70% of the market, maybe even 5-7 years before. But now, because the way the gold prices have been moving up, and also because the consumer profile is changing, we are seeing that bridal share is now only 50%. And the remaining 50% has become a part of your workwear, casual wear, fashion wear. So that is how we are seeing the change. 14 karat jewelry, 18 karat jewelry, jewelry in diamonds, that is a segment that is growing immensely. So while a gold jewelry is growing at about 6-7% growth per annum, if you look at the gold imports into the country, you will see that that is more or less at a 700 to 800 tons. It's not really moving up and down so much so. But at the same time, the diamond jewelry growth overall in the industry is happening at 20-25%. So this is how we are looking at it, that because the clothes that people are wearing are also not so much traditional anymore. Yes, a kind of a CEO of a company will wear a sari, but the sari as a dress will only be restricted to a family occasion, a bridal or a wedding. But if you look at the Western wear, that as a segment, I'm sure Venu sir will also see, has gone up immensely. So we as a jeweler have to accessorize the lady accordingly, and we're seeing that. Lab-grown diamonds. Now today it is a very small part, but 5 years from now, I feel that there are two aspects working. One is on the ESG perspective. We as retailers, we need to have our narratives, our story. So we talk of technology, we talk of empowering our karigars, upliftment of the society, empowering of women, all these things are there. But how are we saving the environment? So here, lab-grown diamonds, where you're not mining the diamonds of the earth, but you are creating it in a lab. Maybe you're using electricity, but still, you're not harming the earth as such. So that as a category is very nascent, but the government, I think, is wanting that we should reduce our import, we should improve the whole demand for lab-grown diamond. Women of today, if you ask them, yes, why would they want to invest 10 lakhs in a solitaire when you can get it at 2 to 3 lakhs? For them, a diamond is a diamond. So 5 years from now, I will not be surprised if these new categories and products help the consumer to fulfill their aspiration. The middle class is becoming richer and richer. So for them, along with the multiple products that they need to buy, we from India and the jewelry industry have to create such products so that we fulfill their aspiration. So things will change. Bridal segment will remain maybe from 50 to come down to 40. 25-30% will be your working category, and the remaining will be all these fashion wears. This is how I foresee. Also, another thing we are seeing is that because gold prices have risen, people are coming back with their old golds, their old jewelry. Hallmarking has now become a compulsion for all the jewelers. So people want to take jewelry which is the best quality, made in the best practices, and these are the changes we are looking at the industry. So this is how I think consumers will become more conscious, quality driven, and conscious. That's how it is.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Shivanka.
Another part, sir, to add to Venu sir's thought, like the way we work with data, you'll be happy to know recently Satya Nadella had come down. So we were one of the first members from the jewelry industry to have implemented Microsoft CRM. And we are working on a project called Senco One Customer. What we are working towards is that we have the whole data of the consumer buying of last 10 years. You as a consumer will come to our store, our team will have a tab. They'll ask for your mobile number. Once they put it in, then they will be able to see your history. So like, 25, 30 years ago, when a consumer used to come to our store, say our grandfather, father, or the old employees, used to know the customer by the name. The young generation, salespeople, they are becoming very transactional. How do you make them more personalized? So then they will see the data of the customer, what they had bought, when is their birthday. And then the conversation will not be transactional. It will be, अरे आपका ये चीज़ आपने एक साल पहले खरीदे थे, वो कैसा है? अरे आपका birthday next month में है, तो उसके लिए कुछ ले लीजिए. So the point is that with the help of data, at the end, I think we all as retailers have to make sure, why would someone come to the store? वो तो online से ही easily for convenience they'll buy. It'll be for that personal touch, for that experience. So that is how we are also trying to develop in the tab, that with the help of data, our sales people can serve the customers better.
Great,
That's how
thank you. Thanks, Shivanka. Now what I'd like to do is to throw open this session to the audience. If there are any questions from the audience, you could raise your hand, introduce yourself, ask your question, and hopefully the question should be short. And if you've got anybody specific that you want to address the question to, say that this question is for XYZ.
I'm thankful to Namit and the team for bringing such a experience knowledge to us. I never thought at the end of this 1.5 or 2 hours listening to Subankar or Sandeep or Venuji, it was very enriching, really enriching. Now when we talk about GST, this is an observation, maybe in a question way. We talk about GST collection of 187 lakh crore during the last month. You see, there are certain sectors, location, products, services are not being accounted. I mean, the trade war going on, consumption is going on, production is there. Those things is getting now recorded in the system. So all of a sudden, we will be finding there's a lot more production, more services are there. So it is nothing that retail things is improving that much, but the production and services are there because of the consumption and because in technology, AI, the differences of knowing the product and services are getting reduced. Person sitting in Bombay, Calcutta, and Jhumri Talaya are knowing what is the products and services are coming, and the consumer is want to know it. Just my one small question to Sandeep. You said we also make logistic, we also do logistic, like Tata or SAIL makes steel. As you have all the detail about who is the sender, who is getting, what is the last parcel I received. So you have all the detail, like we heard that MDH Masala gentleman who used to run Tanga, he was started with Tanga, then he said, what I'm carrying is this Tanga. Somebody is sending some packet from here to there, he says, क्या भेजते हैं? अच्छा मसाले भेजता हूँ. अच्छा यहाँ से लेते हो, वहाँ भेजते हो. So are you thinking of increasing your delivery system, having more and more businesses on that side? Okay, tomorrow you also procure and send it because you have all the details.
It's a very interesting question, sir. Thank you. See, we are a logistics business. We believe in the concept of building the core of the business, and that's our business. We're also a public company, and we're custodians of our shareholders' money. Our shareholders are investing in us to build a supply chain business, and I think that's what we're building. There are many things in supply chain we don't do today. We don't do cold chain. We can't understand the economics of how cold chain works in India. We ourselves yet have not innovated enough to be able to do cold chain efficiently, so we will not do it. We don't do ocean freight to a very large extent. We don't own planes. We don't see the economics of owning planes, so we don't own planes. So we are very clear. We are going to be a supply chain company. There's a $300 billion market opportunity in supply chain. We're just about $1 billion company, less than that. Last year we did 7,400 crores. So we're very small in the market opportunity. There's so much to do in our core business. Last thing we want to do is get distracted by doing other ancillary businesses. They might be tempting. There's a difference of comparative advantage versus absolute advantage. We do not have comparative advantage in trading, so we are not going to do that.
Great. Next question, I think the gentleman beside.
Sir, myself, Vicky Agarwal, representing the consumer, common consumer to whom you are serving. My question is to Mr. Subankar. Sir, you mentioned training to the consumer. Please throw some light. What do you mean? Give some example and how it impacted your business. Training to consumer.
Training to consumer, sir. Consumer today, especially the young generation, if you see, they are followers. So today we talk of influencers, right? So they all want to know what is the latest thing that is moving. They are studying the Instagram, they are studying in the internet. So as a brand, to make sure that the consumer continues to trust you, you and your team have to be trained in a manner that you tell the customer कि यही अच्छा है और यही trendy है और इसको आप लीजिए. Because when the customer comes to the store, sometimes they are confused. उनको क्या चाहिए उनको खुद मालूम नहीं है. But with the knowledge, फिर diamond jewelry, lab grown diamonds, नया प्रोडक्ट आते जाएंगे. तो उसको कंज्यूमर को तो वेगली कुछ है और यंग कंज्यूमर वो गूगल पढ़ के पूरा आ जाएगा कि ये है. So then you have to talk to the consumer, train them, guide them, and फिर you sell. ई-कॉमर्स में भी ऐसा ही होता है. आप अगर देखोगे तो ई-कॉमर्स में पहले ऐसा अच्छा से वेबसाइट बनाएंगे कि कंज्यूमर वो पढ़ के जाने, फिर वो विश्वास बनेगा और फिर वो ट्रांजैक्शन होगा. So this is how we feel on the training to the consumer.
Great, thank you. a question at the back there, the gentleman. Yeah, sorry. We'll take the question in front and then we come back. No, you please go ahead.
I am Virendra Agarwal. My question is that till lately, up to the year 2000, in India, the unorganized retail was prevailing. The data which President and all have shared, that there are against 90 persons there is one retail shop. But recently the trend has changed and it is moving towards organized retail trade. And we all have seen and we all have talked about the organized sector of the retail trade. So my question is whether the unorganized retail trade will be wiped out or it will move simultaneously with the organized sector, or they will have to change their pattern and all, how they will survive. I want to know about this aspect.
I'll take the question, sir, then others can do. What we are seeing in our industry, sir, is that pehle the small single store jewelers used to, do their business, but the way the rules are being made, GST and technology, data, अभी ऑडिट का भी आ गया है कि आपको ऑडिट ट्रेल रखना है. So the hallmarking आ गया है. So things are that the government wants people to do business in a more organized manner. So ये जो shift of हम लोग percentage सुनते हैं कि 64% से 70 या 80, it is not that only the organized players are becoming bigger, but even unorganized players are becoming organized. आज we started 2007-8 में, तब हम लोग का 3-4 stores थे. So then हम लोग ERP implement किए, auditor अच्छा रखे. 2008 से KPMG was our auditor, फिर Grant Thornton our auditor है, कि वो लोग guide करते रहे. थोड़ा painful है process, but करते गए. And धीरे over the 10 years we are where we are. So उस हिसाब से I think that ये journey आज unorganized players को शुरू करना ही पड़ेगा. Many of them are already in it. In our industry we see कि 5 साल पहले जिसका एक दुकान था उसका 4-5 दुकान है. ऐसा नहीं कि उनका भाई है तो ही दुकान कर रहे हैं. System driven कर लिए, professionals रखे, and they are becoming organized. So धीरे the unorganized will have to be organized. They are becoming organized. And another aspect is या तो they will say that okay, let me partner with an organized player and learn from them and grow. वो भी हो रहा है. फिर everyone will survive but in various partnership and means. यही मेरा perspective है.
That's true. Very true.
I think it's absolutely right.
Can we
answer that? I also feel that we are talking of data that India is having the youngest population. आगे भी youngest population रहेगा. तो obviously youngsters से तो business में आएंगे. Fathers वो तो age होते जा रहे तो youngster आएंगे. वो कुछ ना कुछ तो नया ग्रोथ देंगे, चाहे टेक्नोलॉजी हो चाहे कुछ हो. तो आई डोंट थिंक कि अनऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर खत्म हो जाएगा. यस, इट विल चेंज, इट विल इवॉल्व एंड द यंगस्टर विल हेल्प देम टू इवॉल्व. सो आई डोंट थिंक दैट विल जस्ट वाइप ऑफ.
Hi, this is Manoj Gupta. My question is to Venu sir. Venu sir, now as we are moving to the hybrid model, but currently when we see now the way e-commerce is coming in, we see a lot of discounting now happening in e-commerce, and when we move into a brick and mortar store, sometimes standing in the store itself, we have seen, that buying a product from the store and straight away when we go to the e-commerce, we see a huge discounting. So as a consumer, when I come back, sometimes feels low. It's not the right price which I have paid at the brick and mortar store. So going forward, how you feel it's going to be arrested when the whole thing will move forward?
I think it's a great question, and it's one which we grapple with, and I hope the example you gave is not the shopper store, where you're standing in my store and you get it cheaper online. At least not in shopperstore.com, because one of our guiding principles is that it has to be the same price for the consumer. If we take a step back, whether it is e-commerce, whether it is a store, these are finally channels from which a customer is buying. For a business to be sustainable and have a long-term future, it is important that irrespective of the channel, the customer is getting the same value. And that's a fundamental which will never go away. And that is true for every retailer, it's true for every brand. And the more a brand chooses to have the same product being sold at different prices, it's a sure shot way of killing yourself at some point in the future. So I don't think that will survive. You're right that today, the stage that the market is in India, there is a lot of discounting that happens online. It is also because to get the customer to buy digitally, those incentives are being given. However, finally, the age-old saying of sales are sanity and profits are sales are vanity and profits are vanity. Profits are sanity, and COVID taught us that cash is reality. And I think that's always applicable, and that doesn't change. And so to that extent, it is only a matter of time before the channels converge, and it has to be true value for the product irrespective of the channel.
Sure. Thank you, Venu. We have a question from there. That's the gentleman who's got the mic.
Hi, I'm Rahul, and I'm representing this company called Ideal Insurance. Now, we are an offline player, and now when the entire world is going towards online, we have started something new. We are in fact launching 5 retail shops, right, which has never been done in India. While this is more of a gut feeling that where we feel that people should come to our stores, and still there's a lack of advisory. But I would love to have your opinion, right, on where you think the market is going, even in financial services. Do you think that retail will work, or it will be primarily online? Because there's a lot of fintech which is happening. But yeah, we have taken a very bold step of starting actual retail insurance shops.
Shall I?
Yeah, please go.
Just to give you a feel, you have to think about it from a penetration perspective. In the case of financial services, the biggest opportunity in India is to increase penetration. And because you have to increase penetration, there are 2 tasks which need to be done. One is education, second is access. And for that, physical retail is seen as the best opportunity to be able to, in a category like financial services, to be able to first increase the education levels, understanding of financial services for the customer, and second part of it is to make it easily available. Brokers play a very important role in the financial services industry. So in many parts of, let's say for example, insurance, etc., brokers play an important role, so they have played that part. But brokers are multi-company brokers, whereas companies want to promote their own product in the differentiation. Broker sells what is convenient to them. In the case of a retail arm of a financial service company, it's more realistic in terms of what the offering is. So it is a way to go, but you have to balance between the infrastructure cost, which you will incur for every physical location, versus the business that you get out of that particular location, and is it worth expanding to what level? That's the only thing you need to think about.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah,
one last question. Sorry.
I think it's every financial products have their offices in the 3rd, 4th floor. So that basically bringing that office to the ground floor and running it as an office touch point for the consumer. It's a good thought. I think you should see, and then we'll all learn from it as well. Yeah.
A question in the back there.
Hi, this question is for Sandeep. Hi, I'm Bhaskar and I represent Genesis, and there's an element of a common thread that connects us. We actually form the tech backbone for many iconic retail brands in India, and many of them are actually your customers too. So we form a common thread there. I just wanted to figure out, you are a relatively young and fresh organization in India, delivery in terms of supply chain. And when you came into the scene, you already had many established players, very strong players who were trying to muscle you out of the system. So what 2-3 things that you did differently that you said that set you apart and made a name to reckon with in this industry?
Sure, that's a great question. Thank you. And you're clearly our cousins, so I'll play the violin, you sing, and we'll do a good job together. What did we do different? One, I think the advantage of delivery was it started by a bunch of people. Out of the top 100 people in the company today, I would say not more than 5 actually have logistics backgrounds. 95 people out of the top 100 today are people with software, data sciences, consulting, analytics, and engineering background, which means we had no secret cows. So the starting point was first principles of engineering. Why does something have to move from A to B in this way? Because the logistics industry does things the way they do because they've done it for 100 years. FedEx, UPS, many of the other leading logistics companies in India, they're marvels of hardware. They were built as industrial engineering businesses in the 60s, 70s, 50s. It was about how many trucks you could put out there, how many planes you could own. It's not about that. And so I think nobody was looking at this as a data problem. They were looking at it as a hardware problem. So then it became, when it's a hardware problem, it becomes a capital problem. So it became a hardware capital problem being run by an industry which is thinking in the same way they've been thinking for the last 60, 70 years. And so in many ways, I think people ignored us. They said, this doesn't work. Who are these guys? They don't know what they're doing. And what is the software data problem? But as I said, there are 4.5 million trucks running at 7,000 kilometers a month. We're running at 25,000 kilometers a month. So there was an opportunity of just finding, if you run 100 trucks at 25,000 kilometers a month, you'll be far more efficient than anybody else. So I think we looked at it as first principles. We looked at it as a data problem. There were two other things. Many of us actually used to work together in a consulting firm before that. And we actually did a lot of work for telcos. We were doing a lot of network design work for some of the telcos and stuff. Two insights came out of that. One was digital is going to take off. And this insight came in 2007, 2008. So, you started building this business in 2011. The other insight was, we did a lot of work on movement of data packets and how data packets move. For us, we did not differentiate between data packets and physical packets. So we run a network which doesn't work on hub and spoke. We run a mesh network which is fundamentally different. Now, we don't have time to get into the depth of that, but it is a very, very different network. The only example I'll give you is that during the COVID lockdown, the phase 1, we were only shut down for 4 days. And we operated our entire network throughout COVID. And the only company that was doing essentials and medicines. That's all we were allowed to do at that time, but we did it. But we ran the whole network. So there was a differentiation in that sense. The other thing was luck. There's always an element of luck. I think it's 90% luck, 10% hard work. But you need that 10% hard work to manifest that 90% luck. And I think luck had a big role to play.
Thanks, Sandeep. Thank you very much. I think we might be running a bit short. Prashant's waiting here to be able to speak. So what I'd like to do is to ask a question. Unfortunately, Gunjan is not with us here physically. And because of which, everybody asks questions to people who are here physically. So, Namit, could you please ask Gunjan a question?
Well, I never thought I'll be able to have this opportunity to ever ask the question which was there in my mind some 20-25 years ago. So, as youngster, when I had the privilege to buy shoes on my own without my parents being there, so I went to a lot of Bata stores that time and I used to buy shoes. I always had in my mind, and there was always a fight also about the price, which was always very typical, like 1,999.74 paisa or something 99 paisa or 95, whatever I really don't remember. So those time I never used to get the change from the showroom because the fight was of that 1 rupee thing. And I used to think, is it why they have done this? But today when I'm into my own business and my own brand, I think a lot of people will like to know this answer from you. That was there a strategy? What is the strategy behind of keeping something in this fraction of the money? Though today it doesn't have any relevance because of the digital transactions. But why it was there from day one, whenever I saw that?
Thanks for the question. I don't think it's so complex. It's basically psychological pricing, right? So it is basically trying to say that 1,000 rupees seems much larger than 999, right? And I was not involved in that entire thing phenomenon. I would say humbly it's a phenomenon because it's literally labeled as Bata pricing, right? And in many ways it's adopted across many other consumer pricing strategies. But it's basically psychological pricing, right? As you said, it's not so relevant now. I don't think it's to do with the digital transaction, it's to do with the basket, right? Now, if you've got multiple products, anyways, the pricing goes. But I think at some point in time, especially in India and many other markets that Bata operates in, the consumer's mindset of value, etc. was far more acute let's say if you go back 3-4 decades. And I'm assuming that's the time that you were talking about. Right? And there, I think, it's just a simple psychology that whether $1,000 and $999, which seems a little more affordable.
And I also think it was also a strategy so people don't bargain, because the pricing was such that psychologically you feel that, oh, we don't need to bargain, it's a very fixed price. That time Bata was known for a very fixed price.
Nowadays in modern retail there's much of bargaining that anyways happens. But I guess maybe Biju can, if you all go back, let's say about 30-40 years back, at that time maybe even the stores, I think consumers were not used to fixed price, so it's possible. But primarily what I have understood is it's largely to do with psychological pricing.
Good. Unfortunately we are running out of time for this session. But if you have any questions, what you could do is after this session is over, whoever you have a question for, you could catch up with those people who are on the panel and individually ask them a question, but we might not be able to do it as part of this session. So first of all, let me thank one Gunjan who's offline, as well as, who's online, and all the rest of us who are offline, using the same digital technologies that we've today.
We've been hybrid.
Yeah, we're doing a hybrid conference. So first of all, thank all of you all for the time that you all have taken for sharing so generously of your knowledge and making this a very, very enriching session. And thank you to the audience for a wonderful and patient listening to all of what is being said. And Subrata's got some session closing.
So I would request ladies and gentlemen to put your hands together for a big round of applause to the distinguished panelists in the dais. Thank you. Thank you, C. Kurian, Mr. Gunjan Shah, Mr. Sandeep Barasia, Mr. Venu Nair, and Mr. Subankar Sen for joining us. Thank you. May I?
Thank you so much, and thanks to the co-panelists of mine.
Thank you. May I now request Shri Prashant Lohia to please come up on the dais. May I request, please, Mr. Prashant Lohia would address for the next session.
Thank you. Hello, Kolkata. Thanks, all the panelists. It was like a master class. And it could go on for another hour. So, and then also we could have continued. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed members of MCCI, distinguished guests, thank you for the warm welcome. I stand before you today as founder and CEO of Genesis, a company that was formed here in Kolkata. With just 4 people, we have grown to become the technology backbone of Indian retail industry. We have customers across India. To name few, we have from east, we have customers like Manyavar, north like V-Mart, in south Kerala, Kalyan, Sari, Silk. From Nagaland, Jack and Jill, to Jammu and Kashmir, Mona Lisa, to MNC brands like Skechers in Mumbai, Being Human, Salman Khan brand. From fashion brands like Biba, Skechers, to, you name any retailer across India, any place, any city, they are retailers using our software. Today I want to share with you our story of reinvention and transformation through innovation and technology, and how we can work together to reshape the future of retail in India. I must confess, I am a Bhumi Putra. So, I am born and brought up in Kolkata. My family has a rich background in textile wholesale trading, and our experiences in this field have played a significant role in shaping my journey. I'm sure my brother is also here listening me. Are you there? Yeah. Thanks. I vividly remember the early days when Genesis was just an idea. A dream to create a modern retail software that could revolutionize the way business operates. We started small, but our passion for innovation and our commitment to our customers have helped us grow into what we are today. And I can proudly say today more than 1,000 retail brands uses Genesis across India. Genesis has relentlessly reinvented itself from the humble beginning from being a desktop-based software. Now, I mean, many of oldies can understand what a desktop-based software is, to a modern real-time cloud-based product suite. We have consistently adapted to the evolving needs of retail industry. I remember from carrying our early software in floppy diskettes. मतलब पहले floppy हुआ करता था, आप लोग को पता होगा, मतलब to carry software. Today our software suite is accessible on cloud anywhere, anytime. It has been a journey of 20 years that we are serving to retail. From once serving apparel manufacturers and retailers, today we have evolved into the only Indian technology platform that seamlessly blends omni-channel commerce along with physical retail, with a robust ERP at the back end and an excellent on-demand business intelligence tool. Genesis One is the only retail tech platform that enriches and powers every available form of modern retail. Let me come to the retail landscape in India. The landscape of retail in India has changed dramatically over the last 5 years or so. And frankly, India is changing like anything. There are four, five key things which I feel have changed India and also retail. GST. I mean, many of panelists told about GST, 1,85,000 crore turnover. So, no kacha pakka. Everything pakka. UPI and Aadhaar. So now everything is getting digital. 4G, 5G connection. Everyone has mobile and data available. Now I have heard that 6G is also coming pretty fast. Government is working on that. Penetration of mobile commerce. I mean, we heard about e-commerce a lot. And now ONDC, that open network of digital commerce. And ONDC is built because government doesn't want that only Amazon and Flipkarts of the world should rule online commerce. We all can also do online commerce. So that's what ONDC has built for. Today, India is the world's fastest growing economy, and retail is the forefront of this growth. We have witnessed the remarkable paradigm shift of retailers from unorganized to organized. We have keenly followed the emergence of numerous new brands, reaching their target consumers directly, leveraging the online platforms. We call them D2C or direct to consumer brands. The meteoric rise of e-commerce, accelerated by COVID-19 pandemic, has firmly highlighted the importance of digitalization in the retail sector. Pause for the moment and think that it's mind-blowing to note that more than 5 crore online shoppers are going to add only in the next 2 years. Every day we see new retail brands coming up as the entry barriers continue to get lower. Today you don't need any physical store to start your retail business. If you have a great product idea, cool design, a strong technology backbone, and the capability to execute your plans, you can easily put up your products on marketplaces on your e-commerce suite in a day. So बहुत easy. I mean, someone also said it's very easy to start a retail business today. You don't need physical store to start with. Retail is no longer about physical stores. It is about creating an omni-channel experience for the smart, new age, well-informed consumer, seamlessly blending online and offline worlds. The future of retail lies in providing customers with a unified, consistent experience across multiple channels, allowing them to shop and interact with your brand in a way that is most convenient and fulfilling for them. Now, modern retailers, I mean, someone asked about unorganized retail, kya hoga unka, etc. They have little choice but to adapt and innovate to meet the changing needs and expectations of their customers. So it's the customers which will demand change and not that we would like or not. They must embrace new technologies like AI, cloud computing, and omni-channel commerce to create an engaging, personalized and immersive shopping experience. At Genesis, we are committed to collaborate with our client partners to reinvent retail and build a brighter future for our industry. Let's seize this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and transform the world of retail together. Now, talking about technologies, emerging technologies, as we are into technology. There is one technology which I think is going to transform everything, and which is artificial intelligence. This is poised to radically transform the retail industry, I think personally. Open source AI like ChatGPT. Now, I will just give a pause. I mean, how many you have actually used ChatGPT? Can I just see a raise of hands? 1, 2, 3. Only, of course, but very few here. So, how many of you have heard about ChatGPT? Then also, I don't see more than 50%. I think. So, I would request all of you. It's ready available on your mobile phone, on a browser. Go and use ChatGPT and see what it is. I mean, to understand it. And the most important thing which I want to say, no longer this artificial intelligence is, monopoly of large, powerful companies. It's now open source. Anyone can use it. So it's not, it's not that only Amazon will be able to use big technology. All of us can use all this technology which are available. So these technology have potential to revolutionize the way small and medium retailers also engage with their customers and manage their operations. I won't take much time, only a few minutes more. It's not terribly easy to go digital. Simply take a picture of your product, whatever you want to sell, and the AI engine will automatically create the perfect text and content of that image. मतलब अभी क्या है कि ऐसा नहीं कि image आप लो उसके बाद में you have to type in कि क्या description था, क्या है, etc., and then build that story to make it digital. Everything AI will do it, and that AI will do better than what a human being can do, in some cases. So you don't need an intelligent mind to put content. You won't need any other person to do that. This technology is this is one example, have remarkably simplifying the process of digitalization. Because the key to do online is digitalization. आपको तो अपना product को digitalize करना ही पड़ेगा. Even for small retailers. And the best part is that you can do it from your mobile phone. Content is now easily available and totally automated. So content is not monopoly of any large purpose. You can AI-driven algorithms can help retailers predict demand, optimize inventory, manage supply chains. Retailer can reduce excess inventory, minimize stockouts, improve operational efficiency, strengthen your business bottom line. Many of top online retailers have already started using the tech. It's now turn of the small and medium-sized retailers to adopt this tech. AI will also enable ridiculously large quantum of customer data. Somebody was saying about petabytes of data. And behavioral cohorts to create targeted marketing campaigns that resonates with individual preferences. By leveraging generating AI, retailers can craft personalized reach outs, promotions, product recommendations, resulting in improved customer satisfaction and increased sales. As retailers embraces this new tech, the need is to stay adaptable and innovative. The retail industry is constantly evolving, and it's imperative for retailers to keep up with this changing landscape. In conclusion, I encourage all retailers to embrace innovation, adapt to the changing landscape, and continuously reinvent themselves. Together, we can shape the future of retail in India and achieve unprecedented success. Thank you. Thank you for your time and attention. I look forward to discussing the ideas further with you. My team is also here. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Most of the time, information is very important, but in the interest of the time, because panelists have flight to catch.
Yeah, thank you so much.
We will have.
We are there.
Sure. Can I request now Mike to just formally end the meeting by a vote of thanks?
Esteemed panelists, President MCCI, Chairman, Council on Retail Marketing MCCI, distinguished members and guests and friends from media. After this captivating and absorbing session, I deem it a great honor and privilege to propose a hearty vote of thanks to Shri Biju Kurian for so brilliantly moderating this session. My sincere thanks also go out to our panel of experts, Sri Gunjan Shah, Venu Nair, Sri Sandeep Barasia, Sri Suvankar Sen, and Sri Prashant Lohia. It was indeed a great privilege to hear about the changes coming in the retail space, and your pragmatic views on the challenges and way forward would definitely help us to draw the future roadmap for the retail industry in India. I thank our title sponsor Genesis, our associate partner, the Retailers Association of India, and Cucina for extending their kind support in organizing the conclave. I convey our sincere thanks to the distinguished guests and media friends for their presence and participation in the event. I do hope that the deliberations of the session would be duly carried by the media. With these few words, I propose a warm and hearty vote of thanks and request you all to carry it with acclamation.